Chuck Daly always said there was no such thing as an ugly win, but boy, the Magic had to keep the faith to get this one. How the Magic delivered a championship level win tonight on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is November 26, 2024. My name is Philip Rosenreich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, the Orlando Magic play an ugly, ugly game. They had no business winning with the way that they shot, but they won it anyway. How the Magic kept their faith and delivered a gutsy win. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day. Every day you can make Locked On Magic an even bigger part of your day with the new Locked On Magic daily newsletters, the one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. You can also check out the QR code on the bottom of the screen here on YouTube. That's LockedOnDaily.com and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. Today's episode is sponsored by BILT. Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's joinbilt, JOINBILT.com/LockedOnNBA. The Orlando Magic could not shoot. For 3 quarters, the Magic were about as bad as you could be. 6 for 34 from 3. 23 for 74 from the field overall, 31.1%. It was bad. And on most nights, you're going to lose that game. 6 for 11 from the foul line too, by the way. That's just missing shot after shot after shot after shot. Open shots. To the point where the Hornets strategy was let the Magic shoot. Sink everybody into the paint and let them shoot. It was like the Magic had 5 Markelle Fultzes out there. Love you, Markelle. Sorry about that. It was a rough performance. And yet, the Magic were down by only 4 entering the fourth quarter. All Orlando needed, but the way that their defense was getting after the Hornets, the way they were forcing turnovers, the way the Charlotte was creating all these self-inflicted wounds, all they needed was just a little bit. Just a little push to get over the top. They needed to trust that those shots would go in because that would lift the lid off of everything else. And so Cole Anthony hits a 3 at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Franz Wagner follows up with a step back 3. And suddenly the momentum started to change. Suddenly everything started to feel very, very different for this Magic team. Then Wagner, with a steal on LaMelo Ball along the baseline, starts a fast break, pushes the ball ahead, gets it to Jonathan Isaac in the corner. He buries a 3, and the lid is finally off. The lid is finally off. Back-to-back-to-back threes. 9 points. That flipped a 4-point deficit into a 6-point lead. I know that math doesn't work, but that's what happened. The Magic flipped the game on its head. And suddenly they had relief. The Magic missed a ton of open shots. The Hornets were happy to let the Tristan da Silvas, the Jonathan Isaacs, the Anthony Blacks shoot threes, and they shot a lot of them. But eventually the Magic got them to go down. And while Orlando suddenly found their offensive firepower from beyond the arc, Charlotte never broke the Magic's defense. Charlotte didn't stop turning the ball over. And ultimately, that is how the Magic won. Orlando outscored Charlotte 37-22 in the fourth quarter. The Magic shot 14 for 20, 6 for 12 from beyond the arc in the fourth quarter. They forced 4 more turnovers and 9 points, while Charlotte shot just 2 for 9 from 3 and 7 for 18 overall. LaMelo Ball with 15 of his 44 points in the fourth quarter. But by the time LaMelo got going, it was too late. The Magic had put that vice grip on, that vice grip that they put on so many teams already this year, and won the game. These games do not have to be pretty. They do not have to look great. They're not here for style points. They're here to win. And when the Magic's offense wasn't working, their defense held firm. Their defense dominated the game. And eventually they knew the shots would fall. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they did. But they had the faith that their shots would eventually fall. And that's precisely what happened. That's how the Magic delivered this victory, this win. It was not a masterpiece, but there's no such thing as an ugly win. That's what Chuck Daly used to always say. There's no such thing as they all count the same. So it doesn't matter whether you win by 1 or by 20. At the end of the season, this will be one win. And what championship teams do, what championship level teams do, is they find ways to win. They find ways to get the job done. When they don't have their best, they find a way. Whatever the game needs them to do, they do it. And the Magic found a way to do it. The Magic found their path forward. And that should excite everybody. That should be the biggest and most fun takeaway from this game. Is that when the Magic needed a basket, when they needed something, they found it. It's not easy, obviously. It wasn't easy. Orlando could have lost faith. You could see them struggling and hesitating to shoot. You could see them feeling the weight of each miss. But the Magic believe in what they're doing and who they are. They believe in their identity. And right now, this is a confident team that has won 9 of their last 10 games. They believe they're never out of it. With the way they defend, why would they believe otherwise? Why would they think otherwise? They just have to get the job done. They got the job done. Now, look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend otherwise. The Hornets are not a great team. Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball are carrying that team. They have very few offensive options. LaMelo had 44. Brandon Miller had 20. Inefficient 20 at that. What was the number I looked up? LaMelo Ball went, I believe it was 16 for, let me find the stat that I had here. Sorry, excuse me for a sec. LaMelo Ball was 17 for 30 for 44 points. The rest of the Hornets shot 14 for 45. The Magic's defense was, again, like a vice grip that just suffocated the Hornets. Both teams scored 16 points in the third quarter. If the Magic were going to be terrible, they were going to drag the Hornets into the mud with them. In fact, the Hornets committed 27 turnovers for 33 points. Orlando still recorded 21 fast break points, even though a lot of those turnovers were dead ball turnovers. The Magic were not going to let go of this game. They're not going to give Charlotte a chance to breathe. Again, if they're not going to make shots, they're going to drag you into the mud with them. And as I always say, it's better to know a team can do something than they can't. Regardless of the opponent level of the opponent, the Magic found their way. They have the confidence that they can win any game that they're in, that they can be imperfect, that they can make mistakes, but as long as their defense is strong, they'll give their offense a chance to figure itself out. That's a powerful statement. And over the last 2 games, we've seen this team make these very powerful statements of this team's ability and where this team is situated. They are good enough. They are good enough to be this dangerous, dangerous team. And that is something good to know. Now, look, Orlando's got a lot to clean up. They got to make shots. Like it's all that stuff. But this was an impressive win. This was a gutsy win. A win when the Magic could have easily succumbed and said, you know what? It's a road game. No big deal. Don't have it tonight. Let's move on. We've been traveling a lot. Let's move on. No. Even though the shots weren't falling, They stayed with their game plan. They stayed with their identity, and that led them to a win. Look, we're a broken record about the shooting at this point. The Magic are getting good looks and they're missing them. I'll dive a little bit more into those numbers in the box when we review the box score at the end of the show. But at this point, you just got to find a way. And what was the big lesson that the Magic said, or what was the big thing that the Magic kept telling us during training camp, during exit interviews? Every one of these games matters. That the reason they didn't have home court advantage against the Cavs in the playoffs was because they lost those games in January. Well, what did we say was, what do we want to see? Well, okay, it's great to say that. It's great to acknowledge that. Let's see it in action. This is a game they could have easily lost. No Jalen Suggs, no Paolo Banchero, no Wendell Carter. Gary Harris goes out early. Their depth is stretched a little bit. They can't shoot. They can't score. Could have easily folded. But instead, they buckled down and got better. They buckled down and found a way to win. And that, my friends, is the most important skill a team can have. Like I said, there was a lot of injuries, and this Magic team does not have excuses. So how Cole Anthony proved to be the next man up. We'll talk about his game coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at BILT. PSA for anybody who rents. If you haven't heard of BILT, you're about to thank me. Earning points on rent is now a reality when you pay your rent through BILT. You don't even have to check with your landlord to start earning points you can use toward flights, hotel stays, fitness classes, and even your next rent payment. So let me break it down to you. There's no cost to join BILT. And as a member, you'll earn valuable points on rent and on your everyday spending. BILT points can be transferred to your favorite hotels and airlines, and even the ones you haven't heard of. There are more than 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels and properties around the world you can redeem your BILT points toward. Points can also be redeemed towards a future rent payment and unique experiences that only BILT members can access. So, if you're not earning points on rent, my question is, why not? Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's joinbilt, joinbilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure you use our URL so they know we sent you. Joinbilt.com/LockedOnNBA to start earning points on your rent payments today. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is also brought to you by Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Obviously, we hear this cliche all the time. Next man up. No excuses. Whoever's available is ready to play, is able to contribute. You're on this team for a reason. And so it is imperative that players step up to the plate, that players step up when they are asked to do so. It is a big, big piece of this puzzle for the Orlando Magic. And Monday presented a huge challenge. Jalen Suggs left Saturday's game against Pistons with a strained hamstring. He was added to the injury report Monday, ended up missing the game. Not so surprising. Obviously, he missed some time. There's not a whole lot of reason to rush somebody back. It's a long season. We got to think about the marathon, not the sprint. So Jalen Suggs was out Monday. Then in the first quarter, fairly early in the first quarter, actually, Gary Harris seemed to slip on something or seemed to like take a bad step. And he's now out for the rest of the game. Also a strained hamstring. So the Magic down 2 guards, 2 important shooting guards for this Magic team. Say what you want about Jalen Suggs. He's a shooter for this team. And so the Magic had to go deep into their bench, had to go deep into the well and turn to someone who has struggled as much as any player on this team. And so it was heartwarming. It was encouraging to see who stepped up to the plate. And that, of course, is Cole Anthony. I was actually on a radio pregame show in Charlotte before the game. And same thing that happened last time the Hornets were in town. They asked me, what's the deal with Cole Anthony? Why isn't Cole Anthony playing? Obviously, a favorite son of the North Carolina Tar Heels. Everyone in that area wants to know why Cole is suddenly out of the rotation. And the answer is, frankly, pretty simple. Cole Anthony is sort of the odd man out. He is not the overly long, switching, rangy defender that the Magic typically like, the kind that the Magic want on their roster. That's not him. That's not who he is. That's not what he brings to the table. And so the Magic need him to score. If he's not scoring, his value decreases exponentially, pretty much to 0. And this year, of course, he's struggling to score, shooting just 33% from the floor, 33.3% from the floor, 23.1% from 3, 41.9% on 2-pointers when he was at 49 and 50 the last 2 years on that front. Obviously, his minutes have shrunk. For the first time, he's playing fewer than 20 minutes per game, averaging only 9.3 minutes per game in 16 appearances so far this season. It does very much feel like Cole Anthony has been squeezed out of the rotation because the Magic want something else from the position. Again, he is the odd man out. He is the one that does not fit the type that the Magic typically go for. But he's still on the roster. He's still someone that can contribute. And while I would characterize the way that he's played in previous games when he's gotten opportunity as trying to do too much, trying to prove his point and prove himself all at once, rather than doing the simple things to get back on the floor. This game was about Cole Anthony settling down and finding his rhythm again. Cole Anthony led scorers off the bench, and really only Charlotte Franz Wagner is the leading scorer for a good chunk of this game, with 16 points on 6 for 12 shooting, 2 for 4 from 3, 2 for 3 from the line, a team-high 8 rebounds to go with 4 assists and just 1 turnover. The Magic turned it over only 8 times. Big factor in this game. If you're going to miss shots, make up for it elsewhere. Cole Anthony, to say the least, looked like himself again. Looked like the Cole Anthony that was a potential 6th man of the year last year. That was the team's top scorer off the bench. Someone who could get to his spots, make some tough shots in the in-between range, in the mid-range, get to the basket, be fearless when there's bigger players around him. Look, Cole Anthony isn't the greatest defender in the world, but he tries his butt off, and he tried his butt off in this game. And to get mixed up in the rebounding, that's the bonus that you get from Cole Anthony. Like the team had to keep the faith in their jumper and their offense and that it would come around, Cole Anthony had to keep the faith in himself. That when the opportunity came around, he would be ready to deliver. And the Magic, of course, had to keep their faith in him. They may have lowered his role in the rotation. They may have kind of taken him out or lost some trust in him. But at a certain point, you got to trust everybody on the roster. At a certain point, everyone's going to be called on. Everyone's going to be asked to do something. And this was Cole's moment. And very clearly after the game, the team was proud of him for stepping up. Again, nobody is a bigger cheerleader of this team than Cole Anthony. He wants to play. It's probably hurting him that he's not playing, but he's all about his teammates. And thus, his teammates are all about him. He delivered for this team, and everybody was talking about that. Everybody was talking about how Cole delivered for the Magic and what he brought to them. Every team will tell you next man up. Every team will say, everyone has to step up at some point. When one guy goes down, everybody fills it. That's part of the deal. That's part of what you do on a team. And the Magic turned to Cole Anthony in this game, asked him to be himself. And he didn't try and do too much. He didn't try to overdo things. He played Cole Anthony basketball. And after he got that first shot to go down, you could tell that, okay, maybe something was cooking now. And in a game where the Magic struggled to score, Cole Anthony was vital to the team staying in the game, keeping contact. That's what this game ultimately was about. It was about the Magic keeping contact, not falling too far behind, not getting crushed when they couldn't shoot, but staying in the game. The Magic stayed in the game. The Magic gave themselves this opportunity. And Cole Anthony is a big piece of that puzzle. A really, really strong game from Cole Anthony. Hopefully the start of him being a more regular contributor when his number is called upon again. And again, who knows when that might be? Who knows if Gary will miss extended period? Who knows if Jalen will miss extended period? But the Magic are going to need someone to step up again. And it may be someone different every game. It may be Jonathan Isaac one game. It may be Jett Howard getting his opportunity. It may be whoever else it may be. They're going to need other players to step in and step up. And that's going to be a big piece of this puzzle too. The Orlando Magic got a big win, 94-84 over the Hornets. We'll go through the rest of the box score. We've gone through a couple players already. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Skims. Look, no one likes to talk about underwear. Like it's uncomfortable, it's awkward. No one wants to talk about it, but they paid for the ad read, so we got to talk about underwear. Because the best underwear is the underwear you don't think about. So let me tell you, Skims is underwear you don't have to think about. It hugs your body really well, so it doesn't feel like you're wearing anything, but is super comfortable because, again, it doesn't feel like you're wearing anything, which is, I think, kind of what we all want, even if society looks down upon such things. Skims gives you the most comfortable underwear, frankly, that I've worn. I've started wearing boxer briefs only really because I bought some Skims. It's not crazy to say. Skims gives you so many great options to find the right fit for you, whether it's a cotton boxer brief at 5 inches, 3 inches, however it is. They have so many great options to find the right fit for you. And that's ultimately what you're looking for. The right fit for you. Skims forms to you and gives you that opportunity to feel free and comfortable in your own skin. Skims skin, get it? It's a work in progress. Shop Skims Men's at skims.com/LockedOnNBA. Let them know we sent you after you place your order. Select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. And if you're looking for the perfect holiday gifts for the whole family, not just for you, for your lady friends, for whoever else, Skims just launched their biggest holiday shop ever. It's also available at skims.com/LockedOnNBA. Again, check it out today at skims.com/LockedOnNBA. Let's run through the final box scores. The Orlando Magic defeat the Charlotte Hornets 95-84. Again, you go through the list. This is not a game the Magic should have won. Like the Magic really struggled throughout most of this game. And just had to find a way to stay in it. They just had to find a way to be near the lead. They shoot 39.4% from the floor. 12 for 46 from three, 26.1%. We'll get to the threes here in a minute. 9 for 17 from the foul line. They give up 13 offensive rebounds. They give up 42 points to the paint. They give up 15 second chance points. The Magic, LaMelo Ball scores 44 points on an efficient 17 for 33 shooting. He has 9 rebounds and 7 assists. The Magic did a lot of things really, really poorly in this game. But their defense was solid. I know LaMelo had that game, and the Magic's perimeter defense on LaMelo was not super good. But LaMelo had 7 turnovers. Brandon Miller had 6 turnovers. Brandon Miller only scored 20 points on 6 for 17 shooting, 2 for 7 from 3. So the Orlando Magic did a good job locking him up again. As a team, Charlotte had 27 turnovers that led to 33 Orlando points. That is the second most turnovers the Magic have ever forced in a game. That led to 21 fast break points for the Orlando Magic. If you want a recipe for staying in the game when you are not shooting well, An excessive amount of turnovers is it. So too is protecting the ball. The Magic only turned it over 8 times. Season low for the Magic. If you're going to miss a lot of threes, you've got to make up for it elsewhere. And usually for the Magic, it's winning the paint, scoring a lot of points in the paint. Remember, it was against Indiana. They struggled from 3, but they scored 70 points in the paint, gave themselves a chance to win. You make up for it at the foul line. Magic didn't do that in this game. Those missed free throws really hurt when you can't shoot. But the 8 turnovers kept the Magic in the game because Orlando was not giving away possessions. They had shots. They had 19 more shots than the Hornets did in this game. 13 offensive rebounds leading to 16 second chance points. The Magic actually won second chance points 16-15. So they broke even there. You got to find ways to make up ground and stay in the game. And obviously Orlando's defense did part of that job. 41.3% shooting from the floor for the Hornets. They shot to 7 for 32 from 3-2. In fact, crazy talk here. The Magic at 12 for 46 shot not only a better percentage, but made more threes than the Hornets in this game. You've heard me talk about this before, so I want to reiterate this point. If the Orlando Magic are going to be a bad shooting team, it's less important, especially with the way they defend. It's less important what their percentage from 3 is, and more important that they don't lose ground in the raw number of threes. So if the other team makes 12, the Magic have to keep up with that number. It's not about the percentage. It's about the raw number of threes. It's math. At the end of 3 quarters, as bad as the Magic were shooting from 3, they were 6 for 34. The Hornets were 5 for 23. Only 21.7%, but the Magic had made 1 more 3. That's not insignificant. The reason the Magic were struggling, the reason the Magic were losing at that point was 34 of 74 of their shots in the first 3 quarters were threes. They were taking a few too many threes. They weren't getting in the paint. They were outscored in the paint through 3 quarters. They were even in the paint 32-32. They needed to get more points in the paint. They were 16 for 33 in the paint. They just weren't making shots elsewhere. So eventually those opportunities had to come. But look, we can't deny a big reason here is the Magic were just shooting so poorly. The Charlotte Hornets put 5 feet in the paint, 5 players in the paint, and dared the Magic to shoot. And that was from the opening tip. It wasn't like this team's shooting poorly, let's change our strategy. That was the game plan. From the very beginning, the Hornets had Taj Gibson on Tristan da Silva and let Gibson kind of roam around. They were happy to let Tristan da Silva shoot threes. And he went 0 for 4 on threes in the first quarter. He ended the game 1 for 8. That's a win for the defense, even if every single one of those threes was open. Franz Wagner was 2 for 6. That's not terrible. We can live with that. Anthony Black was 2 for 9. He still had 10 points, 3 for 13 shooting, 2 for 9. So he's 1 for 4 inside the lane. That's not good. The 2 for 9 from 3, just hoisting them. Jonathan Isaac made 3 big threes, or 2 big threes in the fourth quarter. 3 for 10 for the game for his 11 points. At the end of the day, the guys at that the Hornets wanted shooting threes, the guys that they left open were shooting the threes and missing the threes. Here's the people you want shooting. Gary Harris was 1 for 1. Obviously, he left the game after about 7 minutes. We're not going to lose. We're not going to be upset about that. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, 0 for 2 on threes. How is Kenny getting only 2 threes? And so, Jett Howard was 0 for 4. He's going to chuck some shots up, which is what you want from him. I think the bigger issue with the Magic and their 3-point shooting is not that they're not making them. Yes, they got to make them. I think the bigger issue right now is the guys that they need to shoot threes are not getting enough attempts. Why is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope shooting only 4 shots and only 2 threes? The Magic need to get him. He averaged 10, 12 attempts per game last year. Let me get a shot profile for you real fast. Give me a sec. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope last year for the Nuggets shot 7.7 field goal attempts per game and 4.1 threes per game. He's averaging 4.4. He's averaging more threes this year than he did last year. Not making them nearly at the same rate, but he's shooting more threes this year than last year. This is why we wanted a volume 3-point shooter, though, to ease away some of these shots from guys who aren't good shooters. And look, I was having a discussion with a friend of mine who texted me during games, asked me, like, why is Tristan da Silva taking 8 threes? So it's just like, well, like, they're good looks. I trust him to make shots. Like, if you don't trust him to make shots, then yeah, he shouldn't be playing. But I trust him to make those shots. He's gonna have a better shooting night the next time out. Like, he's a good shooter. But yeah, 8 is a lot for a guy like Tristan da Silva, even if they're leaving you open. Anthony Black should never be shooting 9 threes. Like, I love the kid. His 3-point shots come a long way. That tells me he's settling. He's not attacking. He's not getting downhill. The Magic just suffered from a lot of stagnation where they just did not get the ball into the paint and downhill toward the basket. And that's what they need. That's what they have to do. That is their formula for winning. So a really rough offensive game. Again, like Cole Anthony came in, saved the day with 16 points. Inefficient, but Mo Wagner had 16 points on 7 for 10 shooting. 8 rebounds for him as well. 5 offensive rebounds. Mo does both things. Jonathan Isaac with 11 points, but again, needed 14 shots, 3 of 10 from 3. It just was a wild game. And then you get Franz Wagner. Again, just like that game that I was critical about during the Olympics. Franz Wagner is still learning how to impose himself on a game. He's got a lot better at it and was trying to make things happen. Still only had 1 turnover in this game. He finished with 21 points, but 13 of them came in the fourth quarter. And once the Magic made some shots, the lid opened and he was able to get to the basket. He finishes shooting 8 for 17, which means he is 6 for 11 on 2-point shots. Plenty of mid-range jumpers in there. He had 7 assists and 4 steals as well. 7 assists was big because he was looking to pass. He knew Charlotte was loading up on him. He knew that he did not have much space to attack. He was looking to get others involved. And, again, they missed the shots. Like you got to make some of these open shots. That's going to make Franz's job a lot easier. It was hard today. It was hard in this game for him to get going offensively. But once those shots fell, once others made shots, that's when Franz took over this game. And that's when this game ended. That's when this game was like, done. We're done with this. It's over. It wasn't pretty, like I've said. It wasn't a gorgeous game, but it got the job done. And look, the Magic got to make shots. Like it's a broken record. They got to make shots. That's the biggest element missing. But the Magic found a way despite that. They forced a ton of turnovers. Charlotte got in their own way. They gave Charlotte the rope. Charlotte took care of them, took care of themselves in a lot of ways. But, the door was open. Orlando, the Hornets never closed the door on the Magic. And the Magic went bursting through. And that, to me, that is an impressive thing to do. Like there is a lot this team needs to get better at. A lot of it's just making some darn shots. If they make shots at even a league average rate, they're going to be fine because their defense is just so good. And a credit to the Magic, when those shots didn't fall, they buckled down and made their defense even better. That is an impressive thing too. But again, a lot to clean up. And look, Charlotte's not the kind of team that we're going to be facing in March and April. That's where we're heading toward. That's where we're getting at. And Orlando's still very susceptible to stinkers, especially against good defensive teams. So the challenges will get tougher moving ahead. Chicago on Wednesday is not going to be easy. Again, I think this team is a little on the fatigue side as well with all the travel they've been doing. A lot to come, and obviously a big road trip on the horizon as well. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. You can, of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipR_OMD. Find me on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can download this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the links to the podcast to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. Up on there, I have a quick article on Tristan da Silva, how he's starting to find his comfort in the NBA, published before Monday's game, but still relevant. One bad game isn't enough to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but you can check that out on my Patreon page at the Orlando Magic Hub, patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As if that wasn't enough, your favorite podcast, that's us, now has a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Magic Daily newsletter, the one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage, delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, or scan the QR code in the bottom of the screen and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic. It's been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.